So this is it. Welcome back to another episode of Making Magic with Daisy May Hudson. I feel so grateful to welcome this very special guest on today. So I met Standing Bear last year and it felt like a blessing, and I always feel like people come into your lives as a soul remembrance or to activate something in you. And when we met, there was a remembrance of deeper prayer in me. So thank you so much for that. And I'm so excited to welcome you onto the podcast today. I'm now going to give you your official introduction. So Standing Bear is a ceremonial leader, a medicine man, author of amazing, beautiful books, which I really recommend people to check out. Swimming national champion, and also 60s scoop survivor.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to sit with you again. You know, it doesn't matter if it's virtual or sitting in the same physical circle. We're all here, and it's such a beautiful place to be in. And I'm so honored to be sitting with you. My name's Kimmy Whitmack, Standing Bear, Soda Tribe, Fishing Lake First Nation, Saskatchewan, Canada, Treaty 4 Territory, Anishinaabe Bay, two-time United States Swimming National Champion, international published author, Native American Award nominee, musician, filmmaker, music producer. So, I have fun. So that's what I do. I have a good time.
And how does when you introduce yourself like that, how does that feel? How do you feel when you see your life and all that you've experienced, and then you can say all of
having
that?
Having fun. You know, it's good to express where we've been, what we've done, and living a beautiful life, one that's connected and sharing and loving. And these are my personal expressions of who I am.
And I wanted to actually speak a little bit about, there's so much to talk about actually, and we'll cover lots of ground. But making magic for me is really about alchemy and storytelling. And I know you're an incredible storyteller because I've sat in a sweat lodge with you as well and listened to your brilliant stories. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about where your life began or some of your experiences from when you were younger, because I know that a big part of your mission is about unity and it's something that's deep in your heart. But I also know that you were born into an experience that didn't give you that feeling, and I wonder how all of that has come around.
Sure, yeah. You know, I have very humble beginnings. I am a genocide survivor, Canadian genocide survivor. The day of my birth, the Canadian government came in and stole me and put me in an orphanage, and then I later aged up to foster care, and then I was sold to a white American family. Then it brought me to the States, and it was back in the 70s, and race relations. You know, if you weren't white, then you were something else, and that's just the way it was back then. And very, there's a lot of things that happened to me in the orphanage. Lots of abuse and that kind of thing. And in a big spiritual sense, it really gave me a lot of contrast, right? It really directed my road and what I was supposed to do. It helped me find my gift, my value, who I was, and really what my purpose was. And that really just came from a really dark, lonely past. And so life is always taking you ahead. And I didn't know that. You know, when I started walking my spiritual journey, it was really in the beginning was just not to drink or do anything violent and get locked up again, and then it morphed into something more beautiful and more powerful. Love and gratitude, peace, and unity. And that prayer is a seventh generation prayer. So that's what we want to offer 7 generations ahead, because I simply don't want the world to grow up the way I grew up, right? So the little ones today, the babies that are going to be born next 10 years, I don't want them to experience something like that. So turning that experience into something good, and that's what we're supposed to do. And that's the way I live my life.
Hmm. And how do you feel you've healed your heart? What are some of the processes? Because, when I think about moving through some of the darkness that I've experienced, and then to live from a place where I can be so open with people and really experience, I'm getting there, like true love in my life. How would you explain that to people, that healing and love is possible?
Sure, love is possible, right? And that's a great question. Thank you. Love is possible. right? But there's so few of us that really recognize and understand what that is, because the colonial world doesn't really teach us about what it is. Right? And I think a lot of it's some kind of lustful thing when two people get together. Well, that can be part of it, but that's a very small percentage of a percentage part. The real love is our relationships in those beautiful things that give us life. So while we live on Mother Earth, that gives us life. So what kind of relationship do we have with Mother Earth? What kind of relationship do we have with the water? What kind of relationship do we have with the fire? There's a fire within right here. It's called our heart. There's an electrical pulse that's running through us. Right? That's the fire. We are not separated from anything. And so there's another world that we live in that keeps us separated from who we are. And we have to see past the illusions and really have an intimate relationship, into me, you see, relationship with all those beautiful, powerful medicines that give us life, both seen and unseen, spiritual and physical. So we just talked about the physical. Now we're going to talk about the spiritual. Like, what is love? Humility. Truth. Humility is carried to us by the wolf. So the wolf carries it from the unseen realm and brings it here to Mother Earth. So we pray with the wolf. We pray for the wolf. The wolf knows his place in the circle. And here's a question. Do you know your place? Do you know where you're supposed to be? Do you even know there's a circle there waiting for you? Right? There's a beautiful place in this life, in this love. We're waiting for you. There's a seat there for you. We need you to be here. We want you to be here. You are valuable. You are invaluable to the cycle of life. You are valuable. And people ask me what love is, and we're simply not taught what love is. So that's part of our expression, right? Our ability to give back. That's what love is. Our ability to show humility, our ability to show gratitude. That's what love is. So, the good news is that all these beautiful, powerful medicines, they're here for you. They haven't gone anywhere. In fact, they're right here. So in the full circle, we're just reminding you that you're already this beautiful, powerful place.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if that answered any question.
No. I was just like listening and my brain was like, I want to ask all these questions. I loved what you said about the circle never left, because what I take that to mean is that it's about we never left, and it's about remembering that we never left, and it's about remembering that we've always been loved. We've always been love, and we experience different things in our life perfectly for our journey back to remembering exactly who we are.
Exactly. That's it. That's living full circle. It is an acknowledgement, which is really the beginning of authenticity. It's really the beginning of abundance, awareness, and deeper consciousness. And that all relates to the frequency and, the vibration. It's all into one. People are saying, let's raise our vibration. Let's raise our frequency. Well, what we do and how we do that is the direct relationship with those beautiful elements and those beautiful medicines that bring us life. And we hold on to that no matter what situation. We don't shy away from anything. And in that process, we're able to change what no longer serves life, humanity, and it turns it back into love. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. Create a better life, create a better, healthier, safer world, more loving, gentle world, despite everything that's happening to us.
When you spoke, because you spoke about taking our place in the circle, was there ever a time when you felt outside of the circle? And if so, was there a time that brought you back into the circle?
Sure. All kinds of abuse happened to me when I was younger. When I was in the orphanage, they replaced my name with a number. So the bed was lined up with a number. And so where you slept is your number. So my number was 11, right? So they took away my name. It was church religion, so it was kind of forcing that. They left us hungry. They fight for food and all that. And what I was trying to do was just survive. But all these traumas, they put me in a different place in my spirit, in my mind. And again, it wasn't until I started walking the red road, the indigenous red road, until I found there's another way, there's another narrative, there's another feeling, there's another place that's been waiting for me. So even just knowing that there's a beautiful, safe place for you. If you're out there today, if you're listening, there's a beautiful, safe place for you. And that's a beautiful thing. And so at the beginning of my journey, when I started walking with my elder, Tony Stonehawk, like 30 some years ago, he alluded to, he probably said it straight to me, but I was so warped and just in a different place. I was living a different narrative, right? So trauma changes our narrative. It changes our perspective. So when we start to heal, then we start to hear a different narrative. Then we start to see from a different perspective. We start seeing from a place of love, of consciousness, of like water. It changes our imagination. It changes the way we do things. Our breath. And so our relationship with truth and air. Once we build a deeper relationship with that, we're able to speak those beautiful things that we couldn't do before. We're able to speak with humility about the traumas that we have. Like we don't have a real good relationship with the air, then we hold our breath, right? So I do a lot of healings and a lot of circles around the world. And when we talk about trauma, at least 95% of the room goes, and that's palpable. Like, did you feel that? That's palpable. You're like, okay, all right. So, but when we have a good relationship and I talk about certain trauma, we like, okay, just let it flow in. And it's in that beautiful neutral place, right? So I don't break down like I used to. I just don't do it. Now it's just in that neutral place. And that situation is always there for me to think back and to relearn the lesson. We all have to look back to look forward, right? The full circle thing. So we look back and be like, yeah, I have recovered. I am becoming this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man, not in a conceited or vanity sense, but in a real spiritual sense where I'm grounded, that I can love you. I can love you and don't want anything from you. I just want you to live your really beautiful, powerful life. So find that beautiful place in the circle. That's what love really is.
Thank you. So just for people that, I think sometimes people hear the term red road, but maybe don't know what it actually means. What does it mean to walk the red road?
The red road is it's a traditional indigenous term, Turtle Island indigenous. It is the road that connects to all other roads. That's really the simplest term. The road to humility is also the road to truth and courage and love. And it's the road, the same road as the eagle. It's the same road as the buffalo. It's the same road as the bear. It is both seen and unseen. It is the one that connects all life, and we need to be connected to all life to live a life, to live happy, to be not living those trauma-based behaviors. Right?
We've spoken about trauma before because, as you know, I've made a documentary about women that have been released from Holloway prison, and it's really a look at what happens on a childhood trauma level and how that leads to certain behaviors which then, later on in life get shamed or blamed or judged, and then people put in prison without any love, any support, any safety, and that we have to have a different attitude towards that. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit more about trauma and how it impacts behaviors.
Absolutely. So the world that we live in, it's not aligned with the sacred laws of life. Do they tell us to live another way, right? So right in the beginning, right when we're born, they remove us away from Mother Earth. The first thing as indigenous people we do, we introduce it. They physically place us on the ground to get that physical touch. That touch is so important. They pour water on, and they rub dirt on us to really understand the beauty and the power that is the medicine. And then what they do is we pass the baby around to every woman in the community to remind them that they are mothers too, and they are part of this beautiful sacred feminine, right? To remind us how beautiful life is. That's like the short version. And then, so the ways of earth. If we're not brought up the ways of earth, like if we're brought up in a religion or something like that, so the patriarchy had nothing to do with the circle. There's no hierarchy. If you take that away, there's going to be trauma. You take earth away from us, that's trauma. That's our very first trauma. And then we will start to display trauma-based behaviors, right? Drinking, drugging, lustful behaviors, codependent behaviors, whatever it is, whatever that is, we start believing another illusion. We start believing another narrative, right? So the society itself creates the problem, and then blame, shame, guilt us, which is, if you take us away from who we are, there's going to be trauma there. That's just the deal, right? Right. So then we end up, then we have these trauma-based behaviors. It's that vicious cycle. So, me and my elder went to 13 state and federal prisons in Southeast Florida, Georgia, Carolina, and so we carried this medicine there, the earth medicine, the sweat lodge medicine, the ceremonies, the feathers, all those ceremonies to the native prisoners in there, the inmates in there. The return rate was anywhere from 3 to 4%. In general population, the return rate is about 90%. So once you're institutionalized, you'll always go back because there's no healing, there's no return back to Mother Earth. Mother Earth restores all. It has all the medicines that we need. And everybody, whether you're indigenous, the good news is we're all indigenous of Earth. It's all a place for you. Mother Earth is waiting for you to return to her and to start living the ways of Mother Earth. That means understanding the flow of the water, listening to the water, listening to the memories of water, and all these other beautiful and powerful teachings that bring us peace. We live in a world that doesn't bring us peace, it brings us chaos, right? Peace and chaos. Mother Earth, colonial world, chaos. Just like, hey, look, patriarchy, that's nothing but chaos, right? That's the deal, right? But when I say, Daisy, that I love you, that means I want you to live your very best life, to be the happiest woman and the powerful and most connected woman. That's what I mean. But in the colonial world, if I said that to you, it would mean something else. It would suggest something else, or some sort of agenda there. So really, the colonial world has made almost everything a dangerous place. And so there's a place here that actually restore ourselves to sanity, to peace. And that's a good thing. And so when I was inside, and I was inside for a little bit, right? And so, when I got out, I went right back to Grandfather Tony and said, this is what we're going to do. And I said, absolutely, this is what we're going to do. That's just, and so when it comes to blame, shame, guilt, that's a colonial narrative, right? So we just simply say, no, thank you. I believe in a different narrative now. I believe in the Mother Earth narrative. I believe in life. I believe in forgiveness. I believe in empathy. I believe in growing and healing.
Yeah. Wow. I was about to say it's a quick question, but I doubt it will be. But Sweat Lodge has been one of my favorite and deepest medicines that I've experienced. I experience it just kind of this absolute safety and calm that I've is just somewhere that I want to return back to over and over. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit about what a Sweat Lodge is as a medicine, to give some context.
Okay, Sweat Lodge. It is the womb of Mother Earth. It is not a replica of the womb of Mother Earth. It's one of our 7 sacred ceremonies. It is the ceremony that I hold in my personal medicine bundle, which means I'm allowed to perform the ceremony. And to perform is to be of service to the Creator. My Father Tony gave me the right to hold this ceremony for the people. I am in the service of the people. It's not my ceremony, Creator ceremony. So it is the womb of Mother Earth. So that's why it's kind of like got a little bubble shape. It's supposed to be in the shape of a pregnant woman. So that's the female part, and then there's the male part. The stones heat up in there. So then we bring the stone into the lodge. It's designed to make us uncomfortable. And I don't know if you were uncomfortable in the lodge, it might have got a little warm in there, And so what we do in there represents how we respond out here. So if it gets a little warm, uncomfortable, what do we do? What we're supposed to do, what we do is pray harder. That means go spiritually deeper. Mm-hmm. So there's always a lesson there. So So my first sweat lodge, I lasted about 2 minutes, two rocks. It's a 5 hour ceremony. I lasted 2 minutes in my first one because I was so worried about the heat. It got really hot. My hair was burning, my ears were burning, and so that was my first lodge because I was so worried about myself. Me, I was really wounded. I didn't know understand what's going on. It was all about me and my like that. And then there was a beautiful reversal, a beautiful healing, and I understand what was happening there. It was not only for me, but was for us. And the sweat lodge is really about the us, and it's really about the all. And I was so wounded. So the wound creates the idea in our head that it's all about us. But the lodge, it brings us back to the circle, back to that beautiful cycle of life.
Mm.
I don't know if there's I could talk about that
That's
another
good.
3 hours, but we have a little short of time.
No, that's good. And it reminded me, because you say pray hard, and so when people are going into the lodge, that's what you tell them. And it reminded me, because I, I've also shared with you, I was a dancer in the moon dance, and which is a 4 day ceremony of fasting and praying. And on the very last day when we closed the ceremony, they put in so many grandmother and grandfather stones, and it's when you've got basically nothing left because you haven't eaten, but the only way to get through it is to like sing in this tradition at the top of your lungs, and it is transcendental. You go into a place beyond the pain, beyond the suffering of like I can't do this, to this divine space which is beyond. And it just reminded me that is possible.
Part of a significant part of the sweat lodge is offering, right? Respect. So respect the buffalo and offering. We live in a world that doesn't offer anything to anyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need living full circle. We have to offer something. When we pray, we offer the physical tobacco to represent our spiritual prayer because that's living in full circle. Otherwise, we become a world of takers, right? So I need this, Daisy, I need this, I need that, I need a car, I need new tires, I need more money, I need a lover, I need another lover, whatever it is, whatever, that sickness is. But here's the thing, we have to offer something. And in the sweat lodge, we offer the one thing that we can truly offer is our bodies. And we offer the water. So we are purifying Mother Earth with the prayers of light and love. So we're actually giving back water from our bodies, purified by their giving life back to Mother. That's the real offering right there. And so we're supposed to live that way every day, not just at the ceremony. Every elder that I've ever sat with always says, when this ceremony may end, the ceremony in you goes on. That means we're supposed to continue to offer. And the question that I would say, one that Grandfather Tony asked me on a regular basis, especially early, what have you offered life today? I'll be 5 years in, I just, gratitude, what was your offering for gratitude? I didn't drink today. Just kind of like not quite in alignment, Now there's a real practical spiritual aspect to this where I'm offering myself to the world, to life, to the ancestors, to Mother Earth, celebrating her. What we're supposed to be doing is not on alignment with life, with Mother Earth, with the water, with all these beautiful things, but we're supposed to be giving ourselves to that as well. That's the real offering. So what I always said from the sweat lodge ceremony, what are you offering life today? What are you offering the sacred feminine today? How about that?
It reminded me that was when I was speaking at the beginning, like that people come into your life to activate different wisdoms inside your own soul. Like I would go to the forest and sit with a tree and maybe give something, or if I remembered, or maybe take some nuts for the spirits of the land. But when I met you and I experienced it in the lodge, it was the depth of offering that it's not just I'll do it because that's what I meant to do. It was repatterning of offering to the earth fully is the very first thing that we should do. And when we're in the sweat lodge and we're not allowed to pray for ourselves until we've prayed for the earth, until we've prayed for the animals and the plants, and I listened. I listened.
Okay, great.
And I
Love
love
that. Good.
that because I
Uh,
think it is a repatterning of our minds, not only of our relationship to the earth, but our relationship to one
right.
another, relationship to ourselves. And that sometimes when things go wrong, like we might pray, if we might pray and we say like, please, like you said, please can I do that? Please can I have this? And then we're only speaking to God or divine or source or love or however we relate to it, when we want something, not when we're saying thank you so much or I'm going to give my love energy to this greater thing. That was like one of my biggest learnings. And like you say, when the society or the system is set up to be about the individual and about taking, offering something completely creates a new frequency in the world.
You know, and if I can add to that, that's beautiful. Thank you for being you. One of those things, it's a different narrative again than the colonial world. People think they go to sweat lodges to become perfect, right? So that they get there, they have to be like love and have all these beautiful things and all that. Well, that's part of it, but the real humility really kicks in when we start offering those things that no longer serve life that we are carrying. Right? So the pain, the trauma, everything there. That's part of our offering. That's part of who we are. So 35 years ago when I started sitting in lodge, I heard these beautiful prayers, and then this one gentleman, he was about 15 years in, sober, been doing this for a long time, and then he started talking about his pain and where he was on a spiritual healing journey. And I never heard that before. I was kind of embarrassed for him. What he was talking about, more stuff that came up, more stuff that came up. I thought after a certain amount of time, then you were perfect, right? Okay, you're good. You just need to get back. You just done this. But really what was happening was it was a beautiful teaching, and I'll never forget that. He said, she was abused as a child and more stuff came up, and he just offered that to the circle, like without shame. And I'm just like, I would never talk about that. Like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed for him. Why would he talk about it? But what he was doing is he was showing me how to love. And so what we do in it, we show people how to love by the pain and trauma that we release. Right? So there was a lot of pain and trauma. So I sat with tears. I can't tell you how many times I sat with pops, tears, just cry, bubbles, no, I just cried and just like, and so, and for a while, it was just me and pops, and then slowly he let other people in, and then I would start to share. It wasn't my shame, then it turned into my healing. The same thing. So what was shameful now became my healing. That beautiful narrative. So what they did to me when I was 7 now was a source of strength. And I was able to fully give that back to the circle without shame. That's really giving it back. Initially, there is shame, but you still talk about it until there is no shame. And that's how we know that it's been dissolved. That's how I'm talking about it right now, right, without going in tears, because it's in that beautiful neutral position. It's in that, not in a place of shame. So the beautiful thing is the deeper beyond the deep here, the learning beyond the learning beyond the beyond is Mother Earth will take what no longer serves me, what no longer serves you, what no longer serves life. And then what it does, it turns it back into life. And if I don't turn it in, and this is really important too, if I don't talk about it, then I take that and I give it to the next generation. I give it to my son. Right? I said, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about what he did to me at 7. And then I just give it to my son. And then, over here, your son takes it. I said, well, okay, you don't want to deal with this, then I'll take it. And then I don't know what to do with this. And then, and then we pass it in. So it's so important, and it kind of drinking or drugging and kind of that the trauma-based behaviors. Those are the things that we have to deal with. And the way we deal with it is through Mother Earth. And so I take that and I said, I'm not going to give it to the next 7 generations. I'm going to give it to her. Here. So it goes this way for the circle to get stronger instead of this way, where my son and my grandson and my granddaughters, they have to deal with it. Now, I don't want to deal with it. Right? That's where it began. That's where life began.
That's super powerful to see or to hear you talk about taking. Like when I don't speak about my stuff, it passes on. It's so clear how that generational trauma happens, especially when you can think about it as energy. Like if it's unprocessed, it just gets passed on through the generations. I guess, for some people that may be listening that think, well, I don't have access to a sweat lodge, I don't have access to, ceremonial elders and leaders, how can I transform that shame and that pain in a safe way that can free me?
Right, absolutely right. In a colonial world, very hard to find, right? It's not designed for our healing, it's designed for our separation, right? And that's just, you're sick, you need drugs, you need all this, you need to be, whatever. It's filled with chaos and crisis. And, that's where, again, the sadness, depression, they all come in because we're not part of a larger whole. We're singled out, right? But here's the good news. Go sit next to a tree. Springtime, it's a beautiful time. Take our shoes off, rub our feet and build that physical connection. Right? I may have talked about it in a lot. I do this a lot, but the Mother Earth, the colonial world calls it dirt, right? They say wash it off, right? Oh, dirt. Oh my God, you're dirty. Okay, let's wash it off. We call it medicine. Don't wash it off. Rub it in. That beautiful dirt. That beautiful soil. Everything comes from us. Everything we need comes from the soil. That's why we say, look, if you want to remain sick, leave your shoes on. If you want to get healthy, take your shoes off and just walk through field. You put your palms on a tree and just feel that, and just kind of feel how beautiful it is. Just rub it on your face. Just feel that presence. The colonial world says, oh, yeah, you're a tree hugger, right? Because they need to blame, shame, guilt you. That's what they're supposed to do. But I always say, yes, go out and hug a tree. And the fact is, you feel better right away. Not one person that I know ever hurt, and I'm doing this a long time. You know what? I hugged a tree and I felt worse. I went to ceremony and felt worse. And I got a good relationship with Mother Earth, the fire, the water, and I felt worse. Because there's always that frequency that aligns with who I am. So I'm out of balance down here, and this is Mother Earth right here. And then I go back to Mother Earth. Mother Earth is a beautiful, powerful, safe place, and we are waiting for you.
Yeah, I love that because, when I had felt so disconnected that I didn't even know how to feel. Like I spent years just completely disconnected from my feelings. And then my granddad passed away and I went into the forest. And before that, I'd been quite disconnected from nature. And I used to go into the forest and I would say, I give myself permission to feel. And I would just repeat it over and over. And at first I was a bit like, oh, this feels weird. I don't feel that connected to the trees. Why am I here? And then as I opened myself up and I allowed myself to feel, this depth of relationship opened up with nature to, a profound level. And I guess it reminded me, and it's something that I live by, is that we don't have to get permission from others, or we don't have to meet others to access our own wisdom or our own connection to the earth. It just starts with putting our feet on the earth. She will speak to us because she's alive and she loves us. And when we come back to her, she's not like, where have you been? Oh, you've forgotten. How long have you forgotten me for? She says, I'm so happy that you're home. And she gives you a cuddle, and it's like this unconditional love. And I've experienced it.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And, here's the thing, again, you hit it right on head. Mother Earth is waiting there for us, right? And the fact is, any one moment, any 1 second, there's about 1 million messages from Mother Earth, from the water, from the ancestors, from the first form of communication is really listening. And we don't come from a listening culture. We come from a talking culture, chaos culture, just like anything to block us from listening, right? But the first form of communication is listening, and we get that through stillness, and then we find that silence. And then we find that solitude, and then it's all part of the same thing. We just sit there, and again, you start to listen for this beautiful thing, and just listen, and just that's Mother Earth getting louder, louder. And I'm with you in the beginning. Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah, please, yeah.
So early in my journey, I was at the very first sweat lodge. So what? Probably told him to pick up. We went to Central Florida. I didn't know what was happening. I asked what we do there. I'm like, pray. I'm like, I don't even know what that is, Tony. I have no idea, come from this really hurt place, right? So I'm thinking, like prayer, some sort of religious thing. I don't know what I got myself into. So anyway, um, right about that time, he gave me some tobacco and to go by the fire. And it's like sitting there, and it was a shame-based thing for me because I'm an Indian and I'm at a native ceremony, and I have no idea what's going on. I literally have no idea. And he told me to pray, and I took out a little bit of tobacco. I took out like a wad of tobacco like this. I'm like, and I'm looking around, like, God, I hope nobody sees me. Really embarrassing talking to a fire, right? Who wasn't young? So I'm kind of like, I'm scared to pray, and I'm shy, embarrassed, shame, all shame-based stuff, And I'm like, I don't know what to say. Introduce yourself. I'm like, oh yeah, right. That's cool. Go there and do myself. So I'm like, my name's Wayne. Okay, okay, Tony. What else do I do? Well, talk to it like your friend. Oh, I should talk to it like my friend. I didn't know that. So I feel shy, I feel bashful. Like I'm talking to like a fire, this inanimate object. I'm like talking to fire, just do what it's told to do. Because okay, so I'm Wayne. I don't know what to do. And then like a year or two later, I started to get pretty good at it, right? And I'm like, okay, my name's Wayne. I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful. Um, I got a drinking problem or shooting heroin. I don't want to shoot heroin anymore. I knew it's bad. I know it's bad, but when you hate yourself, that's all you do, right? So, shooting between the sweat lodges, stuff like that. And then about a year later, there was something that broke it. And so, same bag is back. I said, you know what? My name's Wayne. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I don't want to die. I don't want to be here. I don't know how to live. I don't know how to not live. I don't like sobriety. I don't hate myself. I hate my life. Just the real deep, dark, beautiful, powerful truth. I finally got to that point. It took me a while, but I'm like, you know what? And I didn't care if anybody was looking. I'm just like, dude, I'm done. I'm totally done. I don't know how to do this. Suck at life. I don't belong here. I told the fire that I don't belong here. I don't know why I'm here. And when I said that prayer, this little fire, these are the little flames, right? These little flames, then it shot up about 15 feet in the air. And I'm like, oh my God, what was that? The firekeeper was over there. She was like, what'd you do to the fire? I'm like, I, I don't know what I did. What I did was I told the fire the truth. And then I'm like freaking out. And I'm like, I'll do it again. Hold on. Just like, you can watch me. I just took a little pinch again. Said the same thing. I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm scared. Um, God hates me. People hate me. I'm ugly because of my lip. I speak with a lisp. I shoot heroin. I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm scared. I'm completely scared. And I was vulnerable for the first time in my life. And now tears are coming down my eyes. I can't believe what's going on. I'm just like a kid. I can't do this. The same thing happened again. And it went up like 15 feet in the air. And that fire listened to every word I ever said. And the fire celebrates our truth with this. So my heart, something lifted off my heart that day. I offered myself the truth, and the fire responded. The fire responded equally.
Wow.
So whenever I know it's beautiful, I still bring tears in my eyes because it's such a beautiful. The fire, the sun, your heartbeat is listening to every word I said. My heartbeat, every person that ever listened to it's going to be, and your body responds, right? So when you feel love, your whole body responds, right? When you tell the truth, your whole body's listening. Every cell is listening, right? Every cell is part of the beautiful universe and is listening. And I didn't know that until the fire told me. I'm like, that goes for Mother Earth. That goes for the water. The water inside us is listening to every word you say. Question is, what are you saying? What are you doing when nobody's looking? Because your body already knows it's already listening. Right? You hear the whispers in your mind. You hear everything. The fire taught me that. So, now at the time you start walking in integrity, walking in that beautiful place. I'm just coming back from a heart attack, right? And then 23 years ago, I thought I was going to die. I sat there on the couch. Okay, it was a good life, man. A good run. If you need me to go, then I'll go. That's cool, man. I'm cool. And so the fact was, he told me to go to the hospital. And we're here in the middle of nowhere, so it took an hour for the ambulance to get here. It took me an hour, about 12 hours to get to the hospital. I really needed to go. And the hot in the road, and that's just what we're able to negotiate that,
Mm.
where before I wasn't able to negotiate a negative opinion about myself. Like if someone said something negative to me, I believed it. That's specific. Like, I'm sure you heard Daisy, you're such a blah, 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 blah. And then we believed it, like, and so waiting into that, I believe it now. It's just like, I don't care. I just like, I don't care. Just like, because that's not important because it's not in relation to the life that I want
Yeah. Wow.
to.
Those are two very powerful stories. Um, that I just want to reflect on what you said at the end about how we can
Yeah.
start to come into a place inside of ourselves. You know, it is when I feel it's only happened in literally the last like year, but that place of knowing that the only truth that matters is your truth between you and your heart, and therefore what anyone else can say, it doesn't matter because it's just
Yeah.
about you and your heart. And
And that's up to you. Like if you believe in it matters, but what you believe has to be based on Mother Earth. And Mother Earth will never say that you're a terrible person.
yeah.
Right? We're not sick people becoming better. When I was in Mongolia, right? I've been doing this 35 years. I went to a shaman. She's like 32 years old, but she's been doing it for like, 20 years, right? And now she said to me, you know, okay, now it's time for you to begin, your healing. And it's like, just, she said, continue to heal. And that's basically what it was. That's our goal, whether you've been here for 5 minutes or 35 or 55. That's what Grandfather Tony said. Today's the day, then, yeah, I'm going to heal today. And he's like 80 something years old. Right? And he said that, and it doesn't matter how long you've been. So there's no graduation, there's no, no diploma, no nothing. Today's a great day to heal. It's slow progress is still good progress. And that's okay. Just be gentle. Said, like if you slip up or something like that, okay, let's realign it. So some of us, have that drinking. Okay, time to realign it. It's not a life or death thing unless you think it is. Let's just realign it. So get back to the center, get back to the harmony, get back to that balance. But sometimes we slip, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I was just gonna there's two things I want to speak about is that when I met you, you were in the middle of a prayer where you were going around different countries in Europe and taking your medicine. And I wondered whether you could speak a little bit about why that prayer was important, like what was the intention of that prayer and what were you hoping to
Yeah.
spread, I guess. And
Well,
oh, go on.
go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, finish up. I'm sorry.
And my other question was because when you speak, you've spoken a bit about kind of colonial the system or patriarchal system for like say for example someone that lives in the West that hasn't that it maybe is white. How do they relate to when you speak about colonial? I know that it means that you're speaking about the actual system of ideas or the system of power, but I wondered if you
Yeah.
could speak a bit more about that as well.
Sure.
Two
Okay.
big
So,
questions.
yeah. So great question. Thank you. So the first question is everybody carries a prayer. So my prayer every day is, Creator, Great Spirit, I will go wherever you want me to go. I will carry the message of light and love. I will carry the message of the water, the healing Mother Earth. And so how I got to go to where they wanted me to go, that's where I kind of ended up, right? So I was guided to go to share the medicine. We are all sons and daughters of Earth. You're all indigenous. There's a traditional community that I'm part of, and they don't like that at all. But that's whether you like it or dislike it. To me, it's irrelevant because we are all sons and daughters of Earth, no matter what color, creed, religion, nationality. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. What is relevant is that we are the sons and daughters of Earth. These are the ways of Earth. They're in alignment with this beautiful thing called life, and I want everybody to live at least have an opportunity to have the knowledge to live a good life, one that's connected to those beautiful things that give us life. Water is a life-giving, life-altering, right? It changes our narrative. The air we breathe changes our narrative. Our relationship to Mother Earth changes our narrative, not only externally but internally. We become biologically different people. That's the difference. No, and so that's a great segue into the next conversation. So the colonial system is just that. The system, the patriarchy is just the system, right? And so that's the only system that we know. It's not good or bad, right? I'm not here to label that. It's just like it is what it is. That's part of that, it's contrast medicine. So basically, changing the narrative by which we live. We don't. So indigenous world doesn't believe in right or wrong, good or bad. We don't believe in that, right? That's a colonial narrative. That's a narrative that keeps us sick, right? So that narrative is like, okay, Daisy, you were pretty screwed up when you were younger. So the colonial narrative is you made it. You made a mistake. You are a mistake, right?
Hmm.
That's going to keep you lonely, depressed, fearful. That's what it's designed to do. And again, that's not a good or bad thing. You have a right to do whatever you want to do. I'm not taking that away. Like, you don't want to heal, you have to heal. If you want to keep drinking, then keep drinking. But what I'm saying, if you want to heal and you want to change, there's another way. But here's another thing: the shame system. The shame system. I don't want to live by a shame system because it doesn't bring life. So what I'm presenting to you is simply a choice, right? But I'm not telling you have to live my way. I'm not suggesting that at all. That's a colonial concept. Like, that oneness, oneness is, sameness, right? That's a colonial system. Over here, oneness is uniqueness, right?
Hmm.
That you are allowed to be yourself. You're allowed to have your own individual relationship with the way you see it, the way you hear it, the way you feel it. That's all your own. And that becomes your medicine. And that's what you share with the rest of the world. That's your gift. That's your gift right there. And the first value is that, look, I'm part of a circle. There's a place here for me. There's a place in the circle of life here for you, here especially for you. Only one here. We need you there. When's the last time you heard that in any colonial conversation? Right? Like, we need you here. We need your voice. We need you to sing. We need you to make films. We need you to tell stories to the world. You are here to do that. You were born to tell stories, girl. You were born to do that. You were born to make this world better. Right? That's what you're doing. Right? That's simply what I'm going to do. And I'm not telling you to believe in I believe. I'm telling you, hey, look, it's available here for you. And that's really the deeper version, definition of love.
Hmm. Wow, that's like it feels like a perfect end. I mean, I could ask you so many questions and I could keep going and maybe
Part
we need
two.
to, yeah, I was gonna say maybe we need to do a part two and yeah, we can because there's just
So
so much,
many.
but I feel
So,
like, we started with love and we ended with love and it feels like that in
yeah,
itself is the perfect
yeah.
circle. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me this time and for speaking, like you just carry so much of all of the beauty and that love that is so important right now. And I loved what you said about that it really is just about everyone coming back to their relationship to the earth. And I think that's a very powerful gift to many people. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone for listening today. What a gift. Just take time and listen again because there's so much to integrate from this conversation and yeah, and wishing you all the best, Standing Bear. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.